Hello, this is Caitlin Rule with the case study for EDL 854. So to summarize the case, where are we at? We're at Briardiole Elementary School with the principal, Carl Santos, and the new foundation president, Mr. Bailey. So what happened was the district usually raises money to fund supplementary curriculum programs recommended by the foundation, such as art, music, and foreign language. The new president wanted to compete with the other schools to raise the most money that has ever been raised. He came up with this unique idea that he used back in college to sell raffle tickets to win cash. He proposed the idea at the foundation and had support behind him. Now, a community member who knew it was illegal in this state told the local sheriff, who ended up showing up at the raffle and arresting Mr. Bailey, convicting him of a misdemeanor and placed him on probation. The principal was very embarrassed because he obviously didn't know that it was illegal as well, and ended up on the local newspaper, and it left a horrible mark on the school. So the people that were harmed by this action, the situation, was Mr. Bailey was convicted. He obviously, in my mind, didn't know that it was illegal in this state since he has been through a raffle before. And the school and their principal's reputation also were harmed by this situation because it looks really bad that they let something like this happen under their watch. Does this action or the situation contravene an existing law? It obviously was a state law violation because in some states it is illegal. It's considered gambling. So the state that they are in, obviously, it wasn't legal. The actions of the raffle were not discriminatory or constituted in harassment from what I've seen so far. So to synthesize what happened in one sentence, Briardiole Elementary School's Foundation's president, Mr. Bailey, and the building principal, Mr. Santos, hosted a raffle to win cash as a fundraising event towards the supplementary curriculum programs at their school, resulting in the conviction of a misdemeanor for Mr. Bailey. The people involved in this situation are Mr. Santos, the principal, and Mr. Bailey, the new foundation president, who is also a parent representative new to the district. The place we are at, Briardiole Elementary School, which is the very center of town, middle of a very diverse community that also serves as the town's community meeting center. So there are a ton of activities that happen right there at Briardiole Elementary. This elementary school houses kindergarten through 5th grade, which is about 600 students, and it is a part of a really big district of 2 middle schools, 1 high school, and 6 elementary schools that all house about 500 to 800 students. Could this situation be damaging to stakeholders or the community? Yes, it could really be damaging to the principal's reputation for being in charge and letting this happen. It can also really hurt future community fundraising and participants in the fundraising. Would individuals and groups have an important stake in the outcome? Well, the students who rely on fundraisers to fund their activities, the parents who participate in fundraising events, the principal that allowed this to happen, and Mr. Bailey, who came up with the idea in the first place. Have all relevant stakeholders been consulted? No, I have not heard of the superintendent being consulted yet. Can I learn more about this situation? Yes, there is so much more that I do not know. I don't know what state they are in. Are their policies aligned for fundraisers? Was Mr. Bailey aware that this was illegal? Did Mr. Santos approve this fundraiser? Will the school get in trouble for it being on school property? Has the money been confiscated? There are so many questions that are unanswered in this situation. So do I know enough to make a decision? No, I think I really need to learn more, but I'm going to try to base it on what I know to make a decision. I'm going to assume that Mr. Barely did not know that this was illegal, and so that is why he had that as an idea. So option 1, we could deal with it and move forward. So take no action, don't even say anything about it, just keep going. This consequences could be that we lose community support. We could end up with some trust issues. We could have lower student enrollment and possibly have a repeat situation happen in the future. Option 2, we could take control. So we could address the situation to everybody, talk about what happened, create new approval procedures, and learn from our mistakes. So some consequences are we could lose community support, and we could also have lower student enrollment. Option 3, start over. Stop everything and start from scratch. Write policies and procedures for fundraising, and create legal classes that the foundation has to attend in order to be a part of the foundation. This could be very time consuming. We could have less people want to participate in being in the foundation, and just like the other 2 options, we could end up with lower student enrollment. With this situation, that could happen with any option. So some pros and cons. For option 1, some pros would be there would be no extra time spent. We could try to get back to normalcy as soon as possible. But some cons would be the school's reputation could cause loss of enrollment and funding. Option 2, for taking control, some pros could be we could definitely prevent the repeat from happening, and we could hopefully keep community support. Some cons would be it could be time consuming putting the procedures in place. Option 3, starting over. A pro would be we would definitely prevent repeat. Cons could really be time consuming, and there could be less foundation participation, less people wanting to be a part of this foundation because of all the steps needing to go through. So in my opinion, the best option would be option 2, to take control. So we would address the situation to everybody, not keep it a secret. We would create new approval procedures and learn from mistakes. So how can the decision be implemented with the greatest care and attention to concern of all stakeholders? Well, informing everyone of the situation, keeping them all in the loop to make them aware. It wasn't something that we were trying to do illegal and trying to hide from everyone. It was simply a mistake that had happened. Have all stakeholders been consulted? The superintendent needs the final say on how we would handle this situation. So how would I implement this decision? I would start by a public apology for the confusion, explaining the situations and the new procedures that we will be going through to make sure that this does not happen again. I would refund the money for tickets, give all the money back to the parents, but I would also ask that if they would like to donate the money to the foundation and towards the fundraising that they would like it to go towards, then hopefully they would choose to donate that money so that it's still going towards where they wanted it to in the beginning. I would relieve Mr. Barely without causing blame, without making him feel attacked. And then I would also begin on new procedures to prevent a repeat and select a staff member as a bookkeeper for fundraisers. What may happen, it could go either way. We could have the community in support of acknowledging this mistake and use that money to make donations towards the foundation of their choice, or lose community support and foundation participation. Who needs to know? We need the superintendent to help make this final decision. And when we approach Mr. Barely about relieving him, we do need to explain that Mr. Barely and the Fundraising Foundation approved this event without realizing it was illegal in this state. So we must acknowledge that it was a mistake and inform what will happen next, and that we'll have to find someone new with this situation, just that of how it happened. What if the plan doesn't work? Well, then I think we would move to option 3 of starting over with all new foundation and all new procedures and all new people in the situation. So I think the big takeaway would be to let the community know this was a mistake. We were not intentionally doing this illegally. That Mr. Barely was unaware that it was illegal in this state, and to hopefully get their donations and hopefully continue with the fundraising foundation in the future.